Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Welcome back to Harry's Highlights. On this video, we're going to talk about the book F You Money. Now this is all about having enough is enough. Enough money that you can say F you to anyone you come across. It's about having freedom. It's about having enough money that nothing else bothers you anymore. And they say, it talks about in the book, the only reason that you don't have that F you money is because you haven't made it a continual point to increase the worthwhility of your time. You haven't made it a point to make sure that you're getting paid for the amount that you're worth, not the amount that people are telling you that you're worth. How many people go into a job and they say, they don't even ask how much you're getting paid. They just accept that, like, here, this job pays $10 an hour. And they're like, oh, okay, that's cool. You need to come in and go, like, this job pays $10 an hour. Well, I'm worth 100. So if you're not willing to be paid me that much, my service will no longer be here. That's when people have that sort of mindset. Every winner, every successful person, every wealthy person, they've decided how much they're worth, and they've said that other people will pay me that much because I've decided I'm worth that much. That mentality is why people reach that level of having FU money. That freedom, that anyone says anything to them that they don't like, they've got the money to be able to do anything happens. Now, imagine having that. Somebody, you're in a situation where it's like, whatever it is, I'll just, have the money to be able to do as I please because I could just pay for anything around that. See, but to get to that point, there's steps. One of them is about you've got to get comfortable with your FU money. It talks about you've got to be able to, experience things to find out what you like and what you don't like. If you've never been in a 5-star hotel where there's room service, 24-hour chef on call. If you've never been in, a limousine where there's, all the expensive drinks in the world that you could think of, TV, blacked out windows. If you've never experienced it, how will you know whether you like it or not? And how will you be comfortable when the time comes that you can have those sorts of things and luxuries in your life? So you need to get comfortable with the FU money. You need to make the experiences. Invest in yourself by experiencing those things so that when a time comes that you've consistently got FU money, that you know exactly what you want and what you don't want, so you can make those right choices. Now, to get there, you need to have a goal because you can't hit a target you can't see. You need to know, this is what I'm worth, this is where I want to get there, I'm going to make it happen. If you tell your mind what you want to achieve, it'll work with you to make it happen. If you tell your mind what you don't want, it'll also work with you. But if you're putting a label on yourself of whatever it may be, that I'm only worth this much, or I can only handle that much, your mind will work to make that happen. So you need to visualize what it is you want. You need to dream build. You need to start looking at things at okay, here is my ideal picture. And once you have that ideal picture, you'll then work to create it. Anything great in life, any success that's been made, anything extravagant, anything magnificent of any kind, of any scale, always started out as a thought. And the thought was a picture. Take something massive, for example, like the Statue of Liberty. That started out as a thought in someone's mind. They had to think it and then it created. Think about the light bulb, for example. That was a thought that was then created. Think about anything in your life that you've wanted. It was a thought. You had the target and then you were able to reach it. Which then talks about the other in this process. What it's talking about there is about how what you think you'll eventually achieve and receive. So you can't hit a target you can't see. You've got to make sure that you are visualizing your goals. You're thinking about what it is you want to achieve, what you want to make happen, and then it'll happen. You are your own compass. You are your own map. You will decide you'll make decisions based on your bigger goal. So if you don't have a goal, you just wander around in circles. But how people explorers back in the day crossed vast oceans and seas was because they had a vision, they had a target, and they worked towards making it happen. You need the same thing in your life. For you to have FU money, for you to have that experience, that freedom, that control in your life, you need to have a goal. You have something you're working towards. So part of that process is about having that target in mind. The other one that I was talking about there, that you got about you need to understand the 80-20 rule. Literally, 80% of all the revenue you make will come from 20% of your clients. So too many people think, this is applying specifically to business, but the 80-20 rule applies to almost anything in life. It's also called the law of averages, or the Parpet rule. It's about understanding that too many people try to put all their time and effort into everything. And understanding that the way the rule was created or was discovered was that a philosopher was working in his garden and he realized that he was growing beans, and he realized that out of all of his beans, just 20% of them was producing 80% of the crop that he wanted. 20%. That means if there was 100 people, 20 of them produced 80% of the results. And that's in anything that you're doing. When you can understand that, and when you can start to look at things, taking into account the worthwhility of your time, and that 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your clients, you'll stop spending time on areas and clients that are going to produce the results you're looking for. So, and that applies to anything you're doing. 80% of your results will come from 20% of your efforts that you put into. So you need to direct your thoughts, direct your effort, direct your energy into those things that matter. It's really another version of urgent versus important. Put that, if you want massive results, you've got to put your effort and energy into the 20% top 20% most important things, most urgent things. And then from then on, you'll get 80% of your results. The other thing we were talking about there was about the market you sell to is more important than the products or services that you sell. See, too many people get stuck on the details. Too many people get hung up on the small things, saying things that like, whatever they're trying to do, it's based on that the product that I'm selling is, it's not good enough. There's a great story about this person that wanted to start a charity. He went over to a few third world countries and he was understanding that if he started a charity, he'd be going through all this administration, there's all these things you set up and all these fees and those people you pay for. How can I do this smart? So he looked at what was a cheap, durable shoe that he could basically produce, because he noticed there's all these people in this area that didn't have shoes. In fact, that was a basic need. So he started to put his time and effort into producing a shoe that was going to be able to, one, service the needs of all the people in there, but also produce at low cost. That was the product. Now, most people think that it's a cheap shoe. How are you going to make money from this one? How are you going to be able to make enough to produce a charity? He focused on the market he was selling to. So he focused on upper class people that had disposable money. He sold them a cheap shoe based on the story of what it was and what it was going to achieve. And that because he focused on that one, he was able to sell massive amounts of a cheap shoe to the right market, and therefore was able to produce a charity that helped hundreds, if not thousands of people have a basic need such as shoes. It's a great example of understanding the market you sell to is more important than the product or service you sell specifically. How many people still go to that $2 cheap shop? Because they've understood there's a market available and they just need to sell based on convenience, not based on quality. And it's clearly been successful. How many $2 shops, cheap stores are there that sell, we know we're going to buy a product that is well below average, that is poor in quality, but based on the convenience, we still buy it. They focused on the market they were selling to, not the products they were stocking. And it applies to so many different areas. How many people think about, when you have these cars that are worth millions of dollars, they're not thinking about how hard is it for me to be able to sell this $1 million car? They're thinking about who are the people that are going to buy the $1 million car. They're focusing on the market they're selling to, the target audience, not the product that they're selling. They're not getting hung up on the details. They're not thinking about all these things about why it won't work. They're thinking about why it will. When you have that mentality, you start thinking about, okay, what am I going to target? What am I going to put all my focus and energy into? And then from there, your results will come. So, McDonald's is a great example. They sell burgers. They don't sell the best burgers. They just sell consistent burgers based on convenience. They focused on a market of convenience. Then the product came afterwards. And there's plenty of places, I'm sure, that do a better burger, more quality, more nutritious. But McDonald's had their target audience, their market, they focused on it, and they capitalized on it. The products and services came afterwards. When you can differentiate the two and you can start doing the same thing, whatever it is that you're doing, know your target, focus on your target, decide on the urgent versus important, you'll also start to see results. So to quickly summarize, we were talking there about increasing the worthwhility of your time, making it a continual point to increase that so that you can have that FU money. Because everyone to some degree wants control, wants freedom, wants the power to be able to not stress about things and have the money to back it up. So focusing on increasing the worthwhility of your time, making it a strong point. Second thing is about getting comfortable with your FU money, knowing what you want and what you don't want. There's no point in having all this money and being too scared to spend any of it because you don't know what you like and what you don't like. Get comfortable with it. What I call advanced dream building. Don't just look at something, experience it. You won't know until you've tried it. Third thing they were talking about was you can't hit a target you can't see. Every archer, every person, you know, that aims for something, you know, for example, they have a target to aim for, they fire and aim, they know what they're aiming for. Otherwise, you're just firing arrows mindlessly. Every person sets out to do something that, you know, if you're going on a journey, you have point A to point B. You know where you're going, so you know how to get there. Targets also apply to other areas of, like, you know, for example, when you start a degree or you're starting a course of any kind, you know that at the end of the 4 years, you have a target you're aiming for. You're aiming for a degree. It applies in everything you do. You can't have a target, you can't see. You don't just wake up and just mindlessly walk around. You have something you're aiming for or towards. The other day I was talking about 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your clients. The 80-20 rule. Understanding that you don't have to please everybody. You need to focus your energy and efforts on 20% of your clients. The most important area, the most urgent area, the most important thing, whatever it may be, and 80% of your results will come from that. Then we talked about the market you sell to is more important than the product or service you sell. Understanding that, tailor it to your audience, tailor it to your market, tailor it to the specific clientele, and from there, the products and services will sell themselves. Understanding where you want to go. Now, we're going to be making a lot more of these videos for this training series to help you with your personal development goals. But that's all for now. Until next time, leave a comment on what you like the most, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the next episode of Harry's Highlights.